Carefully. 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 Ha! Okay, Dofi. I won't touch your smile. I won't touch your smile, Dofi. It fits so well. I didn't have an apple, so I'm like, okay, what fruit do I have on hand? And I'm like, I have a lemon. I could, Sharpie up a lemon to make it look like a smile. Get the pop figure Dofi with an extra collectible item, the Smile Lemon, coming on sale for only, let's sell these for $37.94. They'll sell. I know they'll sell. Okay, so Smile video, take 2, Smile Squared. So we found out more about the Smile fruits in the last chapter of One Piece. We figured out not only exactly that their weaknesses are the same weaknesses as regular devil fruits. That was something we were curious about for a long time. When I did the last Smile video, it wasn't that long ago. It was like, I think back in February. I actually had to do some research on that, and I'm just like, do they have the same weaknesses? Because it's just, you shouldn't assume. Also, considering the fact these are artificial, I mean, you're still probably doing something in the same vein as regular devil fruits, probably what Vegapunk figured out. Vegapunk was the one that cracked the nut on this to begin with, okay? He's the one, like the sole person in the world that actually figured out what a devil fruit really is, okay? Figured out, I don't know, the chemical composition or what exactly about a devil fruit leads to the inability to swim or the weakness to, like, certain amounts of liquid, covering your body. He figured out all of that, right? And then he tried to make his own devil fruit, and he deemed it a failure, left it on Punk Hazard, then the whole explosion thing happened. Caesar basically jacked his notes, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna use his notes and probably tweak them a little bit, because I'm sure the world government, once they found out Vegapunk knew what he knew, they probably wanted the same thing that Caesar's doing to Kaido right now. The world government probably went to Vegapunk, and he's like, we want you to mass produce these artificial fruits and hand them out to all the government officials, hand them out to all the Marines, because, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want an entire army of devil fruit users? I mean, maybe not an entire army, because, the inability to swim is kind of a big factor, so it's like, yeah, give all those Marines on that battleship a devil fruit. Oh no, artillery! Okay, well, we just lost an entire fleet. So, okay, maybe not the entirety of the Marines, but you would want to have, like, oh, here's a relatively weak seaman recruit to the Marines. Here you go, give him a fruit. Now he can at least fight and actually win against the majority of, like, random ruffian pirates. He's just like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I can't fight very well. Well, here, take this fruit, it'll turn you into a grizzly bear. So, push comes to shove, just roar, and just claw and bite, and you'll be fine. But no, so Vegapunk, I like to think, is connected to the revolutionaries, and he's not really a bad guy. He just finds himself in a really kind of shitty position. So, he maybe just stopped his research. I don't think it's that Vegapunk couldn't eventually fine-tune the artificial devil fruits to make it, like, perfect, because the one that Momo ate, his dragon fruit, there does seem to be problems with that. He doesn't seem to be really able to control when he goes in and out of it. It seems much more connected to his, like, emotional status and stuff. Does not have the same downsides as the smiles, because Momo is still able to express sadness and he can cry and all that stuff, but it doesn't seem to be perfect. But I think if Vegapunk actually sat down, he could figure out a way to make a perfect artificial devil fruit that operates the same way as the real deal. He might have just stopped production because he's like, I know what the government's going to do with this, so I'm just gonna lie to them and say, oh yeah, artificial devil fruits, yeah, that research, it didn't pan out. I'm sorry. It's just not gonna work, right? So there's a situation there. Now, also, when Caesar got a hold of it, he was aiming to sell it to Doflamingo as like a mass-produced kind of thing. So that also probably changed the, consistency of it and the makeup of what these things were going to be, right? Because all of a sudden, you're not just making one or two in a test. It's more of just like, these are in like the prototype phase, and he's like, oh, we got a bunch of orders for Smiles. Well, we really haven't perfected all of the kinks. And he's like, oh, screw it. Just mass produce the prototype and just send it out. Who cares if there's problems? We'll figure that out later. And it turns out there's a lot of problems with that. There's a problem with production in and of itself. Sometimes you need, you need proper cultivation to get the fruit just to get it, an actual proper smile. But even then, even if you succeed with that and the Tontad has managed to create one, there's only a 10% likelihood that that fruit will even yield powers to begin with. Also, I wanted to bring this up here because this is very important now that we know that smiles have the same weakness as regular fruits. Whatever it is that gives people the superpowers, whatever it is in the devil fruit that gives them the powers, it's directly connected to, you know, being weak to the sea. It has to be, because I don't really see any other thing with that. It's just like, you know, because the original story is like if you eat a devil fruit or a cursed fruit, as in the 4Kids dub, which also kind of does apply. It is a cursed fruit. If you eat that, it's like the sea god stops smiling on you, or the sea god becomes enraged with you and you can no longer swim. So that's like the mythological element to it. But, you know, whatever it is, they have to be connected, because you'd think if you were cultivating these things artificially, if there was any way that you could, like, hey, can we selectively breed out the part of that makes you weak to seawater while keeping the superpower? Can we just somehow manage that? Vegapunk couldn't manage to do it, and Caesar couldn't manage to do it. Caesar's an idiot, he's a bumbler sometimes, but he's also a master chemist. Granted, like I said, he was kind of just pumping these things out, you know, a mass production, without any real care for pollution or any, you know, negative side effects. But if Vegapunk couldn't figure it out, then I'm thinking that it's just not possible. You just can't. You know, no matter what kind of devil, if you have a real devil fruit or a smile, doesn't matter. You're gonna have a weakness to seawater and just liquid in general. If it gets, you know, higher to a certain amount of, like, over your kneecaps, then it starts to weaken you, and that's just the way it's going to be, right? Okay. So, yeah, problems with cultivating and everything, but then we get to the main issue, which is only 1 out of 10. Now, I mentioned this in the video, but I'm just going to expand on this a little bit more, exactly what the selection process is for the Beast Pirates, okay? So you got 3 different categories. You got the waiters that are just a bunch of probably new recruits to the, you know, the Kaido Beast Pirates, and they're just sitting there waiting to receive a devil fruit. Probably there's like a vetting process, I would imagine. You know, whenever somebody joins up with the Beast Pirates, they're not just going to automatically throw them a smile. You know, you got to, you know, prove yourself a little bit maybe in pitched combat. He's like, okay, you waiter, you fight against that waiter, and whoever wins, you know, you're the stronger fighter. Kaido is somebody that definitely, you know, requires, you know, power above all else when it comes to his recruits. They have to be strong, you know. Intelligent, I mean, that's good too, but, you know, you want, you know, the strongest fighting force, the strongest Yonko fleet around. That's what, you know, Kaido's kind of, you know, bucking for, so that's why he's the whole reason he's doing the artificial zones. So, yeah, you got, like, all right, here are the waiters, and then they go through some kind of process, and then they eventually get to, like, the selection. Now, the way that I was looking at this was like, okay, the kind of devil fruits that they actually give to that selection process. Let's say they line 10 people up. They take 10 of the waiters, line them all up, and then they have a basket full of smiles. All right, I like to think those are all the same type of smile, okay, because they can definitely, it seems like they can choose which animal goes into which fruit. Like, that's the kind of the whole point of it. Don't really know the whole process, but, like, Caesar gets an order for, like, we need, you know, 10 gorilla smiles. And I'm like, okay, I'll make those. And so he makes the 10 gorilla smiles, but only one of them is going to be an actual, you know, success, is actually going to yield an actual gorilla zone, all right? So they take the basket, like, okay, this is a basket full of nothing but gorilla smiles, so give it to that group so we can at least get one gorilla user out of it. And then they all eat the fruit at the same time. 9 of them are failures and are subjected to the negative effects of the smiles, i.e. they cannot swim, and also they just can't stop laughing. Oh man, it was a failure. Well, I guess I can't laugh. I can't, you know, feel sadness or sorrow or anger the rest of my life. Oh well, give me a sword. I'll be a sadistic pleasure then. And then they go off to one side, and then the one person does become a gorilla, and they're like, oh, awesome, or, you know, it'd be funny, because the smiles, you also, that's another downside, you never know what combination of animal parts are going to appear on your body, so that can also be a downside as well, because for all you know, you, in a perfect world, like, you eat the gorilla smile, and you would get, like, the gorilla arms and the gorilla legs and stuff, but your face would stay the same, and you're just like, gadoosh, but no, you could eat it, and like the gorilla head could appear, like Voldemort could appear like behind you, and so there's this gorilla head constantly like looking around and shit, and you're getting whiplash from your neck being turned so many times, and the arms could appear from behind you. So that's like a weird kind of design, you know, depending on it. Look at Hold'em and Baba Nuki, where the animal heads appeared like on their chest or like their stomach regions. Look at poor Dobun. Dobun's like entire body got basically consumed by a hippo. He's basically the hippo's tongue in that equation. So it's not even like a guarantee like only your body's gonna be the dominant body. It's not even a guarantee like, okay, well, the head might appear here and the legs might appear here, but, you know, out of your nipples, but at least I still have the majority of the body. No, like, you could eat it, like, here's an elephant smile, you eat that and you might turn into the elephant's dick for all you know. Like, it seriously could happen, right? So, yeah, so problems with cultivation, 10% success rate, and you still don't even know what crazy slot machine randomizer Cronenbergian design you're gonna have after it, right? So, yeah, the smiles don't. Would you eat a smile? Vote now. He's like, well, actually, you know what? Vote now. Would you eat a smile? Because I can think that I wouldn't. Given those odds, you know, I really don't want to be an animal all too bad. Okay, if it was a rabbit zone. No, not even for that. Not even for that. I'm not gonna risk it. Knowing my luck, the rabbit would appear like on my butt or something. Like, we're not doing. Every time I sit down, it just screeches. Like, no, we're not doing that. So, yeah, I don't think the risks are really worth the benefits, right? I mean, yeah, if you might get lucky. You might get lucky. You might turn into somebody like Speed. Speed turned out to just be a centaur. You know, and she's pretty fast, and, you know, she has the dominance of her body and everything. She just have horse legs and stuff, and she's hot, so it all worked out okay for her. Hold'em, you know, I mean, he's still an okay fighter. It's just he has a lion sticking out of his stomach. But then again, you could also end up like Dobun again. So that risk alone that you could end up like this freak of nature kind of just, you know, precludes you to say no to this. You know, like, not even if it's a 1% chance. I don't want to. This looks like life would be suffering eternal. I don't want to do that, okay? So, how exactly do the smiles affect you negatively with, like, the lack of sadness? Like, what does that actually do? So, in the video, I said that it's most likely it could be brain damage. It's probably a negative reaction to the SAD, the SAD, which is that glowy green, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ooze that we saw in Punk Hazard. That was, like, the raw materials that get put in to, you know, artificial devil fruits, to the smiles. And just, you know, as a rule, don't eat glowy green ooze. You know, like, don't you remember when your mother was teaching you about this when you were a little kid? You know, like, okay there, little Matthew, don't take candy from strangers, don't play in the streets, and don't eat suspiciously glowing green ooze, okay? I think every parent told their kid about this, so taking one look at this stuff and be like, oh, this yielded a negative reaction to the human body? Go figure, right? Alright, so I would imagine, remember those, oh man, I can't even remember what they were called, but they were everywhere in the 90s. What you would get is they were like little molds, and you would take plastic, like gelled plastic, and heat it up and get it all goopy, and put it in the molds, and then the molds would cool, and then you would get like little action figures. I remember I had like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers set of those, where you literally superheat plastic, and then you cool it in a mold, and it's a toy you could buy, and I actually think they might have been discontinued, because thinking back on that now, that looks really unsafe, you know, but imagine that. Imagine just, like, there are these smile molds that are, like, you know, apple-shaped, and then Caesar just has, like, a giant machine with a lever that he just pulls it, and that ooze just comes out like soft-serve ice cream, like, goes into the mold, and then he just, you know, shuts it into an oven, bakes it for, you know, an hour and a half at 425 degrees, and then ding, comes out and just oh, look at those fresh smiles. I know that's not how it actually works. They have to grow them on grow them on Dressrosa. There's a whole factory for that, but you can imagine, right? Like, it's just this gunk that's being pumped into, like, the ground, and then the trees are growing there, and then the smiles grow off of said trees. That's the process, right? But you can imagine there's a lot of pollution involved here with this. So, brain damage could be one thing. It's just you eat the fruit, and then the goo, affects your brain in a negative way, the part of your brain that's responsible for those kind of emotions, like sadness and anger and all those stuff, just gets immediately just brain dead just at that part, and it just goes dark, and it's just like you can no longer express those emotions. Just you can't happen. If that's the case, or if it's a form of poisoning, that's something else. But you figure, like, this is not the same as just like, my kidney hurts. This is like something psychological in a sense, like a mental thing. So, I don't think you could just make here's an anti-smile serum that Chopper drew up. Here you go. So, I don't know if there's going to be a way that they're going to fight against this. Chopper and Law are both on the island, and they're expert doctors, and Law is a surgeon, so he might be able to perform, like, brain surgery and stuff, but could he perform brain surgery on everybody in Ebisu Town? Well, actually, you know what? If it's it seems like it's limited mostly to Ebisu Town, because there are other leftover towns, like, Okabore Town outside of the Bakura district. Like, there are other towns like this all over Wano. Ebisu Town seems to be the only town that's really afflicted with the happiness curse, So, hey, maybe after they defeat Kaido and everything, Chopper and Law sit down with Otoko, or they look at all the people at Ebisu, and they're, like, going through it, and they're like, it might be possible to actually reverse this, but I have to perform, like, brain surgery to make it work, And Law would be the guy to do it. I mean, if you were going to have brain surgery performed on you, I would, like, literally want it to be the guy with the Oppi no Mi, Because Law could literally just be like, okay, we're beginning the operation, Dr. Chopper. Room. And he could just literally pop off somebody's head like Mr. Potato Head and just separate the skull, just screw that off like a lid, and just pull out the brain and separate the brain into a bunch of little sections, like little cubes of brain, and be like, okay, let's see, that's the medulla oblongata, that's the stem, that's the frontal cortex. Oh yeah, this is the part right here that we're looking for, right here. See, it's all dark. We need to figure out a way to fix that. Now, this is One Piece, so it's not like you have an MRI or anything, but Law would be the most likely person to fix them if anybody. That's the point here, okay? Now, let's say it's not the brain, because this is One Piece, this is manga, this is fiction, and it's very prevalent in the One Piece world. Something that does exist, that's not exactly science, is the power of soul! Wait, hold up. Oh, I got it. I still didn't tune it, but I got it. Okay, I don't have a pick. Screw it. Soul! Oh, yeah, okay. So, souls exist, okay? Soul energy, soul power, all that stuff is legit in One Piece, okay? Now, we've heard expressions like that hurts your soul or that helps your soul, chicken soup for the soul, So, and because we're talking about magical fruits that give you superpowers here, guys, you know what I mean? So, maybe it could just be more of damage, not to their physical bodies, but to their souls. Like, they already had pretty fragile souls to begin with, living in a leftover town in freaking Wano under the rule of Orochi. But, beyond that, you take a bite of this thing, it might damage your soul to the point where, you can no longer feel sadness, because that might be where Oda's going with it here. Those kind of emotions don't necessarily come from your brain, they come more from this soul energy that you have, okay? So the perfect way to cure this is for Brook to obviously pick up his guitar and sing the saddest song he's got, and maybe, like, with the power of his soul, and if this is what's really causing it, his soul resonates this super sad song, it makes all the people in Ebisu Town start to cry, and then they're cured. Who knows? Brook's like, alright, well, this is the song about a duck named Bert, and he is a duck, and he got shot by a drunken hunter. I don't know, like, I'm just spitballing ideas here. There's a cause to this, all right? There's something that led to them eating the fruit, something in their body that prevents them from, feeling sadness. It's either in the brain or it's either with their soul. I can't really, it's probably not going to be in their femur. You know what I mean? There's something beyond this, right? So now it could be like, it might just be a negative effect like the same thing with the weakness to seawater. So no matter what a devil fruit user tries, they can't really shake that weakness. Luffy will never be able to swim. Like you can't just voluntarily I mean, yeah, you have people like Blackbeard that can nullify devil fruit powers and stuff, but you can't just remove the devil fruit power from you. We haven't really encountered anybody with that ability yet in One Piece. Like in Avatar, where like Aang can just energy bending away. We haven't really seen anybody that can permanently just delete devil fruit powers from you and just suck out the power, and then give you back your ability to swim yet. So Luffy is stuck that way. All devil fruit users are just stuck that way. So it might just be that they're stuck like that too. I would like them to be able to express express sadness again, like, I don't know, like it's at the end of Wano and they defeat Kaido, but maybe somebody dies in the process, like, Kinemon or, somebody like Momo. Momo can't die. If Momo died, then the whole point of this is kind of just out the window, But, like somebody that, the people of Wano really cared about died, like Yasuie did. And at the end of it, maybe they figured out some way to cure the smile poisoning and then they can express sadness. Like, I would want that, but at the same time, it's like, sometimes you can't reverse the evil deeds of men and people, you know what I mean? Like, Orochi did this horrible thing where not only did they already had, these smiles all over the freaking country, and they deforested the place, and they were building weapons factories everywhere, and Kaido and Orochi were ruling over the people, super oppressing, but not only that, Orochi decided to take it one step further and was like, well, I'll take these smiles here and I'll distribute them to the town so now everybody can feel happiness all the time. Because that's how you know when you have a good country. When all the citizens are happy and smiling, that's when you know everything's going good, right? So he took it one step further. This might be a permanent curse for the people of Ebisu. Like, there's nothing you can do to cure it. Like, even after the end of the arc, like, Orochi and Kaido could both be defeated, and Wano is looking like it's being, it's being repaired, and the trees are beginning to grow again and everything. But the damage has been done to these poor people of Ebisu Town, and it might just be like Chopper and Law could look into it. I'm sure they would. I'm sure like they just wouldn't ignore it. They would look to see if there was anything they could do. Brook as well. Like, everybody would look into what they could do. Wouldn't it be funny if they figured out the solution to this was the toad oil? I keep going back to the toad oil. I'm expecting, because I don't know why, because it's just Usopp's lies have a tendency to become real, like over the course of, like the giant goldfish story, that ended up being real and all that stuff. He's like, I'm going to create this facade of the Sage King, and later on during his fight with Perona, it seemed like the Sage King really did exist as like a split personality kind of cheering him on. Or later on when they saw the fake Straw Hats, they saw the guy, basically cosplaying as Sage King, and they're like, Sage King, you're real? Like, that was funny. So wouldn't it be funny if Chopper and Law were looking into this and just be like, well, there might be a way to cure it, but we're gonna need a substance that can't be found anywhere. We don't even know what this substance is. And then Usopp's like, toad oil? Like, holy crap, this might work! Usopp, yo, let's do this! I doubt it. I doubt it, but more than likely, if we're just going to keep with this lesson here, that it's just like, hey, it's the same thing with like pollution and stuff. People like can destroy entire areas with pollution and wipe out entire forests, and they'll recover, but it'll take a very long time. It's not going to just be like a snap of the fingers and everything's solved. Unless you have the Infinity Gauntlet, you can't do that. So let me paint a picture for you. It's the end of Wano. Kaido and Orochi are defeated, and the people of Wano are rejoicing, of course. Everybody's happy at that point. And it's like, okay, well, it's going to take a while, but I'm sure we can till the land. We're ripping down all the factories. We're going to try to get rid of all the polluted water and everything. Eventually, hopefully, eventually, it could take decades, but eventually Wano will return to its previous state, and we're fine waiting for that. And the people of Ebisu Town might be like, well, we're stuck being happy the rest of our lives. At least now we have something to be happy about, I guess, that the hope for the future, so we can never get our emotions back in that way, but at least for now we'll be okay. And hopefully when they have kids, hopefully it's not like a genetic thing, that affects their genes or anything, like the Amber Lead syndrome that Law had. Hopefully when they have children, they won't be afflicted with it in the same way. you know, and then they can begin the next generation, and then the generation after that, and maybe cut to 100 years or so down the line, and Wano is back to being this flourishing country. And that's a perfect scenario for the thing there. But yeah, let me know if you think that it's number one, if it's even possible to reverse the effects of the smiles, the ill effects of the smiles. Because if that's the case, even if it's like they still have the inability to swim, but they can get their emotions back. You know, that would be something that would be worth it, I think. It's just like, well, we can no longer swim, and we're still weak to liquids and stuff, but at least we can now express sadness. I think that would be a good trade-off. So let me know if it's even possible, and even if it was possible, like, is that the way you would like this little story arc to end in Wano? With all the people of Ebisu Town getting their emotions back? Or would you rather have them stay the way they are as kind of like a reminder, like, you know, not everything always gets a storybook ending. You know, not everything is just solved at the drop of the hat like that. Not everything can be solved by Luffy just punching out the main villain and dropping, and then everything is happy now, guys. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the Straw Hats, you know, except if you're Jinbei. You know, because, you know, you can see some, like, you know, that's not a great message to have. You know, you want to be like, you know, there are, you know, consequences for your actions. Even if your consequences, I mean, even if your actions are good, they could lead to negative consequences and stuff like that. So, yeah. But, yeah, we're probably going to find out more about the smiles as we continue on. I really want Vegapunk to appear in this arc. Like, there's been a lot of build up to him, not just from years previously, like all the way back in Thriller Bark when he was mentioned by Kuma, but just like, you know, he was mentioned by Orochi, and when he was meeting with the CPI Jazero, like, I want Vegapunk. And you have Smoker and Tashigi going to Vegapunk's lab to see if he can fix the kids on Punk Hazard, and you had Fujitora meeting with him at Reverie. He was talking about that with Green Bull. So it's like, it seems like there's a lot of build up for Vegapunk at this point, and it's like, man, it would be great if Vegapunk showed up. Vegapunk would be able to maybe cure it. Like, even if Chopper and Law couldn't, because they don't exactly know the particulars of what, you know, devil fruits really are, but Vegapunk does. Oh my god, okay. I'm gonna throw out an idea here. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Let me see what do you think about this, alright? So let's say end of Wano, Vegapunk shows up. And Vegapunk reveals that it's like, okay, here's the deal. I completely cracked the nut on devil fruits. Like, I figured out everything about devil fruits, meaning he can do anything he wants. He can remove the powers from people. He can remove the weaknesses. He can do all this. Maybe he can create like an anti-devil fruit. Like, if you eat this, then all of the powers that you have will get sucked into this fruit, and then you will no longer be a devil fruit user. If anybody could do it, it would be Vegapunk. Vegapunk creates like this is like a special fruit that absorbs devil fruits, or it's like like it is a devil fruit, but the power of that devil fruit absorbs your devil fruit, something like that. Eat this, and you'll regain the ability to swim, but you'll lose your devil fruit powers. Okay, so he goes to Wano, and he distributes those fruits to Ebisu Town, and everybody eats them, and everybody regains their ability to swim, and also regains their ability to have negative emotions and stuff like that. Awesome. But now we've introduced this concept. And that might lead to like, alright, Vegapunk did a good thing, helped everybody out at Ebisu, but then the world government shows up, and it is like, we want those. You know, and those could end up being a bad thing for the next arc. You see what I'm saying here? Like, Vegapunk, like, everything's great, like, they're ready to sail away, and then Vegapunk's ship is attacked by the world government or something, and they go on, and they steal all these anti-devil fruits, and they're like, oh, we can use these to make weapons to steal devil fruit powers away, and they just run away. It's something like that could happen, but if anybody would figure out a cure for this, it would probably be Vegapunk, right? If Chopper and Law couldn't do it through medical means, right? So, yeah, let me know about what you think about that below, if you would like that to happen or not. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. I really want this lemon. I did not draw Sharpie all over this lemon just for Dofi to have it, alright? Just give it to...